Welcome to WatchMojo UK, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 moments in the Beatles' Get Back.
And now, your host this evening, Rolling Stones.
For this list, we're going to be looking at the most important and memorable moments from Peter Jackson's mammoth documentary on the making of Let It Be. Let us know your favourite Beatles moments in the comments below. Number 10, tabloids.
Drugs, divorce, and slipping image.
And it says, but it wasn't the first time they've traded a few punches.
They were the biggest band in the world, and as such, were a popular topic among the world's tabloids. But though the papers of the 60s were quick to speculate on whether the Beatles were on the brink of breaking up, reporting on things George and Paul said in passing, as well as putting a magnifying glass on John and Yoko's relationship, we see that the band themselves did not take the press all that seriously.
The end of a beautiful friendship.
By 1969, they were obviously used to the non-stop prying into their personal lives and outside speculation, but it's still nice to see they didn't let public opinion affect them too much. Number 9, wives and girlfriends.
Paul, are you gonna have strings?
It's been a point of note among Beatles fans for years that Yoko Ono was present at all their rehearsing and recording sessions in the late 60s, with the late John Lennon's wife invariably blamed for the band breaking up. However, watching Get Back makes it clear that they weren't all that fussed about Yoko being there all the time, and she wasn't anywhere near as invasive as rumors have suggested. Additionally, near the end of their recording period, other significant others joined their sessions too. Linda Eastman, soon to be Linda McCartney, and her daughter Heather were there. And at the end we see Ringo's wife Maureen Starkley watching the show. It really was a family affair.
We're going home.
No.
Number 8, George's solo career.
You always get annoyed when I say that. I'm trying to help you know, but I always hear myself annoying you. And I'm trying to...
No, you're not
I
annoying
get so...
me.
Possibly the Beatle most dissatisfied with the band's direction for a lot of its existence, George Harrison's frustrations reached a boiling point in Get Back.
Run along, son. We'll see you later. Rock and roll band, you know. Boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom.
But once their differences are mostly resolved, he turns to John and Yoko to confide that he wants to have a solo career. He says that while he could give away his songs to other artists, he really wants to be able to perform them himself.
I'd just like to maybe do an album of songs.
Have you on your own?
John and Yoko encourage George and say his solo endeavors are a good idea. And indeed, all 4 Beatles would go on to have successful solo acts. Number 7, father figure. In 1967, the Beatles' manager Brian Epstein died of a tragic, unforeseen overdose, a death that the Beatles as a unit never managed to come to terms with.
Ever since Mr. Epstein passed away, it's never been the same.
I mean, we've been very negative since Mr. Epstein passed away.
Epstein was there from the beginning, and it was his guidance that led their iconic mop tops and suits in the early 60s. In Get Back, we see the Beatles talk about how they're still lacking this father figure and need somebody to make sure they meet their deadlines and put on a good show at the end of the sessions.
There really is no one there now to say, do it. Whereas there always used to be. But Daddy's gone away now, you know.
What makes this more upsetting is the constant presence of the documentary's original director, Michael Lindsay Hogg, trying to convince them to perform in various ridiculous venues. Number 6, 2 of Us.
Okay, Jim. Good night, Paul.
Say goodnight, John.
It's still something of a mystery whether this song is about John and Paul's friendship or a romantic relationship, namely because Paul has since said that he wrote it about Linda. But it's clear from the footage here that, while writing and arranging it, it's more about John and Paul. At the very least, it became about John and Paul in the studio. They always harmonize with each other, but here they're clearly each singing to one another directly.
We're going home, middle age, B flat.
You and I made memories longer than the road that stretches out ahead.
The lyrics also mention things that may be to do with the Beatles' contracts, another point of contention responsible for their split at the end of the decade. Number 5, Octopus's Garden.
Let's go from the beginning. From the beginning.
Ringo didn't write too many songs during his tenure as a Beatle, but the ones he did were memorable. We got to see him arrive at the studio one day with Octopus's Garden already formulated, playing the beginnings of it on the piano. Just like the other Beatles, Ringo is a multi-instrumentalist. It's George who comes over and sees the potential of the song and helps Ringo develop its melodies even more, and the song's core riff would eventually be played on the guitar by George when it appeared on Abbey Road. After the end of the Beatles, Ringo and George were the ones on the best terms, which is why it was so nice to see them collaborate. Number 4, and then there were 2.
Did you get in touch with John?
I couldn't get it.
Is he joining us?
After George's abrupt departure, the second part of Get Back opens with only Ringo Starr arriving at the Twickenham studio, and Ringo chats with other members of the crew and cameramen while there. Eventually, Paul also shows up, and it's only him talking to Ringo about the difficulties the band are facing.
John had said that he really did not want not to be a Beatle.
However, things take a turn for the profound, not only when Paul dwells on the idea the Beatles might soon break up, but comments on how he and Ringo are the only Beatles left.
And then there were 2.
Though the band did get back together at this point, in 2021, Ringo and Paul are the last surviving Beatles, which gives this conversation an eerie quality. Number 3, Get Back. One of the more viral moments sees Paul idly noodling on his iconic Hofner bass guitar while Ringo and George sit nearby, not really paying him any notice. Slowly but surely, over the course of just a few minutes, Paul goes from absolutely nothing to putting down the core riff of Get Back, which would be one of their final singles.
Get back where you belong. Get back. Get back.
We already knew Paul McCartney was a musical genius, but there's something about seeing him in action that brings that knowledge into sharper focus. We then see a lot of the recording process for Get Back, including the keyboard stylings of Billy Preston, until they finally perform it on the roof.
Get back. Get back. Get back to where you once belong.
Number 2, George Quits. As mentioned previously, George Harrison reached his breaking point during the production of Let It Be, announcing that he'd had enough and was going to quit the Beatles.
I think I'll be leaving the band now.
When?
Now.
We're almost surprised that Apple let Peter Jackson put this in Get Back, since it doesn't exactly portray the other Beatles, namely John and Paul, very favourably. It's clear, however, that as soon as they realised just how upset George was with his songs being constantly rejected and ignored, despite him writing some of the Beatles' greatest hits, they wanted to make things right. We even got to hear John and Paul talk about it, thanks to Lindsay Hogg bugging a flower pot in Twickenham's canteen.
So where's George? Well, he doesn't want to hear.
He said I'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he's going to do. He's going to do it. So bad.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Number 1, the rooftop concerts. It's not like we didn't already have some footage from their final ever public performance as a band, but seeing the 40-minute gig in its entirety was, until now, something only the people there to witness it at the time experienced. now it's finally here, start to finish, right at the end of the documentary. This legendary moment in music history wasn't just captured from the roof, but from the street below, with the filmmakers asking various passers-by what they think of the Beatles and whether they like their music.
I think it's marvellous. Yes?
You know who it is?
Beatles, I think.
Funnier yet are the efforts of three coppers to shut the concert down, something they don't manage to do.
Alright, so you've got to... This is necessary, alright?
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo UK and subscribe for more great content.